The internet has officially lost it. You've seen viral moments before, but nothing quite like this. What happens when a celebrity becomes a literal Halloween costume and the world decides to weigh in? What happens when the satire, the jokes, the memes, and the outrage all collide into one unforgettable online spectacle? The story starts innocently enough. A costume appears online. Simple, harmless, maybe even funny at first glance. But within hours, it explodes across social media platforms. Tweets pile up, TikTok videos go viral, Instagram reels get shared millions of times, and suddenly, a Halloween costume isn't just a costume. It's a cultural event, a social media storm, and, some would argue, a public character assassination. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Have you ever thought about the power of satire? The way the internet can turn a small idea into a worldwide phenomenon in a matter of minutes? Well, this isn't just any satire. This is a Meghan Markle Halloween costume. A full-on, front-page parody that's equal parts shocking, hilarious, and, for many, deeply satisfying. But why Meghan Markle? Why now? What is it about her image, her story, and the way the media and public perceive her that made this costume more than just a piece of fabric and plastic? Let's set the scene. Picture it, a retail store somewhere in the country. A display table is set up with the costume in all its glory. There it is on the packaging. Meghan Markle, meticulously depicted with exaggerated features, bronzer applied to levels that could rival the sun itself, and a suspiciously smug smile plastered across her face. And then, just beneath the image, the description, Meghan Markle comes with idiotic husband, victim mentality, bronzer, constant lies, choice of noses, ode to copycat spray, shit podcast, and kids sold separately. You read it once, maybe you laugh. You read it again, and a knot forms in your stomach. Is this funny? Is this cruel? Or is it both at once? Before you can even answer, the internet has already reacted. Memes appear, mocking the absurdity. TikTokers create skits reenacting the idiotic husband line. Influencers post videos opening the costume packaging, reading the description in tones ranging from disbelief to hysterical laughter. People comment on the Instagram post, "This is brutal. She can't catch a break, can she?" Finally, someone said it. And just like that, what was intended as a novelty Halloween costume becomes a social media phenomenon, dissected, analyzed, and debated by millions. And it doesn't stop there. The story is compounded by the fact that Meghan Markle has lived a very public life in recent years. The internet already has opinions. Some admire her style, charisma, and humanitarian work. Others despise her, seeing her as a manipulative figure who has somehow managed to rewrite her own narrative while simultaneously taking down those around her. This costume doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists within the broader context of her public persona. The costume, with all its absurdity and satire, is a reflection of the world's perception of her, amplified, exaggerated, and shoved into the spotlight for all to judge. But here's where it gets interesting. This is not just a Halloween costume. It's also tied to a book, a literal physical book, that features Meghan Markle on the front page with the same brutal satire. The book echoes the costume's description, labeling her with all the traits we just mentioned. People have described it as savage, outrageous, and, in some cases, almost unpublishable. And yet, it exists. Retailers sell it. Online marketplaces list it. And suddenly, the joke extends beyond just a Halloween gag. It becomes a full-blown cultural critique, wrapped in humor, packaged for consumption, and amplified by every influencer, blogger, and social media user who wants to join in the conversation. Think about the symbolism here. A costume that literally comes with kids sold separately. It's biting, cruel, and absurd all at once. Every line on the packaging is designed to provoke a reaction, to force the audience to think, laugh, or recoil in horror. The idiotic husband? A dig at public perception of Prince Harry's role in her narrative. Victim mentality? A direct jab at her interviews, her public statements, and the way the media often frames her as both protagonist and antagonist in her own story. Bronzer? A playful yet pointed critique of the beauty standards, image consciousness, and, frankly, the obsession with her appearance that the public and media share. Choice of noses? a subtle mockery of public scrutiny over even the tiniest of personal details. Ode to copycat spray, a metaphorical and literal commentary on imitation, influence, and the way her life seems to inspire or provoke endless mimicry. And the Shit podcast? A nod to her media ventures, her branding, and, for some, her perceived lack of credibility. Each detail is a story, a joke, a critique, and a provocation, all wrapped into one. It's not just about humor or satire. It's about context. It's about timing. It's about the fact that Meghan Markle exists at the intersection of celebrity culture, media obsession, and social media frenzy. The costume, the book, and the viral responses are all interconnected threads that, when pulled, reveal a complex tapestry of public fascination, outrage, and obsession. The internet isn't just laughing at this. It's dissecting it, analyzing it, and, in a very real sense, participating in the creation of a narrative that extends far beyond a single product. Every share, every comment, every meme is a thread in a story that millions are weaving together in real time. And what's even more compelling is how people respond differently depending on their viewpoint. Some see the costume as justified satire, a necessary cultural critique of a public figure who has, in some eyes, cultivated an image of victimhood and entitlement. Others see it as cruel, a mean-spirited attack on a woman who has already been under intense public scrutiny for years. And yet, everyone agrees, it's brutal. The language on the packaging, the exaggeration of traits, the playful yet cutting satire, it's all designed to provoke strong emotional reactions. And if the internet has taught us anything, it's that strong emotional reactions equals engagement. This story is designed to capture attention, and it succeeds spectacularly. But there's another layer, one that most people haven't noticed yet. The costume doesn't just parody Meghan Markle, it parodies the culture around her. The obsessive fascination, the endless debates, the memes, the outrage cycles, the comment wars, it's all encapsulated in a single, audaciously packaged product. And that's why this story is bigger than Halloween. It's bigger than a meme. It's bigger than any one social media post. It's a snapshot of modern celebrity culture, a mirror held up to society's fascination with fame, scandal, and the cult of personality. And it's all happening in real time, as millions of people react, share, and debate what this costume really represents. Have you ever stopped to wonder what it would feel like to be the subject of such a phenomenon? To wake up one morning and find that your life, your public persona, and even your personal relationships are being distilled into a Halloween costume, a book, and a series of viral jokes? How would it feel to know that every detail of that product, every exaggerated feature, every biting description, is a reflection of how the world sees you? That's the reality Meghan Markle is facing. And the reaction is as fascinating as it is brutal. But here's the kicker. This story is only beginning. The costume has gone viral. The book has hit the shelves, and the memes are everywhere. But the twists, the deeper revelations, the shocking behind-the-scenes details are still unfolding. What started as a seemingly simple Halloween gag is quickly turning into a cultural phenomenon with consequences that no one expected. The reactions, the commentary, the outrage, the humor, they're all just the first act. The next act is about to shake the internet even further, revealing truths, exaggerations, and contradictions that will make you question what is real, what is satire, and what is something far more calculated. And so, we're left with a question that will haunt the next hour. What happens when a public figure becomes both a character and a punchline? What happens when satire crosses the line into social commentary, and commentary becomes a mirror reflecting society itself? We're about to find out. Every chapter of this story will take you deeper into the phenomenon, uncovering the absurdity, the drama, and the internet chaos in real time. And if you think you know how this ends, think again. Because what comes next is bigger, louder, and far more brutal than anything we've seen so far. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. It all started with a single Instagram post. One picture, one costume, and within hours, it became impossible to scroll through social media without seeing it plastered across every feed. But this wasn't just any Halloween costume. It was a Meghan Markle costume. The moment it appeared online, the internet reacted with a mixture of laughter, disbelief, and what some might call outright fury. People were tagging friends, sharing memes, creating reels, and commenting in threads that stretched for thousands of messages. And the reactions weren't gentle. They weren't subtle. They were brutal, sharp, and unapologetically vicious. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to become a viral meme before Halloween even arrives? To know that millions of people are dissecting your image, mocking your every feature, exaggerating your personality traits for entertainment? That's exactly what happened. One Instagram post showed a mannequin dressed in a meticulously designed Meghan Markle outfit, complete with exaggerated bronzer, a suspiciously smug smile, and accessories that included references to her most publicized controversies. And then the text on the packaging hit like a punch to the gut. Meghan Markle comes with idiotic husband, victim mentality, bronzer, constant lies, choice of noses, Oda copycat spray, shit podcast, and kids sold separately. The humor was instantaneous. The satire was sharp. But the intensity? That was something else entirely. It wasn't just about a Halloween costume. It was about perception. And social media, as always, was the judge, jury, and executioner. Within minutes, Twitter threads exploded with commentary. One user wrote, "I can't believe someone actually made this. This is peak internet energy." Another said, "This isn't even a costume. It's a whole cultural statement." The engagement was extraordinary. Millions of likes, thousands of comments, and endless shares. But why did this particular costume resonate so strongly? After all, celebrities get parroted all the time. Yet, something about Meghan Markle made this instance different. The answer lies in the intersection of her public persona and the internet's fascination with her life. She had become more than a person. She had become a symbol. To some, she was a fashion icon. To others, she was a manipulative figure. To almost everyone online, she was a target for satire. And when that satire was packaged into a tangible, physical product, a Halloween costume, it became irresistible. By midday, TikTokers were creating skits and reactions based on the costume. One video showed a person dramatically unboxing the product, reading the description in a mock-serious tone, and then fainting in disbelief. Another recreated Meghan's public appearances, exaggerating the bronzer, the facial expressions, even mimicking the idiotic husband, as a tiny action figure that came with the set. The creativity was staggering, the humor biting, and the irony thick. Every new post seemed to escalate the frenzy further. Meanwhile, Instagram and Twitter weren't just places for reactions. They were arenas for debate. People argued about the morality of the costume, the limits of satire, and the appropriateness of mocking a living, breathing person. One commenter wrote, "This is art. It's social commentary wrapped in Halloween chaos." Another replied, "No, it's cruel. People have real feelings." And yet another chimed in with a meme, "Meghan exists. Internet creates 500 memes, 3 TikToks, and a Halloween costume." The conversation was relentless, multi-layered, and endlessly entertaining. The story spread beyond social media as well. Bloggers, online news outlets, and even morning talk shows picked up the phenomenon. Headlines screamed, "Meghan Markle costume breaks the internet," or "The internet can't stop talking about this brutal Halloween costume." Analysts tried to quantify the virality, sharing metrics about shares, likes, and views. Marketing experts dissected the product design, pointing out how the exaggerated features, over-the-top description, and cultural references were all engineered to provoke a reaction. In other words, it wasn't accidental. It was meticulously designed for virality. And the humor wasn't confined to the description alone. Every visual element of the costume carried a layer of satire. The bronzer? Oversized, shining like a golden statue, exaggerating every contour of Meghan's face. The facial expressions? Smug, confident, as if daring the world to react. The choice of noses, Oda copycat spray, and other accessories? Pure absurdity, yet pointed commentary on the public scrutiny she faces daily. It was a product that simultaneously mocked her appearance, her public image, and the cultural obsession with her life. What made the costume truly viral, however, was its timing. Halloween was approaching, and the internet was already primed for viral content. Memes about celebrities, public scandals, and cultural phenomena always tend to surge in October. But the Meghan Markle costume didn't just ride the wave, it created its own tsunami. Users didn't just share the image, they interacted with it, creating spin-off content, debates, and conversations that spiraled across platforms. Every new video or meme added fuel to the fire, amplifying the phenomenon exponentially. And then came the reactions from fans, critics, and bystanders alike. Some fans expressed outrage, feeling the costume crossed the line. "This is cruel," one tweeted. "She's a human being, not a joke," wrote another. Yet critics and casual observers celebrated it. Finally, someone captured the essence of the internet's obsession with Meghan Markle in one perfect product, read a comment on a viral TikTok. This polarization was part of what made the story irresistible. People argued, laughed, and debated endlessly, ensuring that the virality wasn't fleeting. It was sustained, growing every hour. Meanwhile, retailers began noticing a spike in interest. The costume wasn't just a novelty. It was flying off the shelves in online marketplaces. Pre-orders surged. Some sites experienced temporary outages due to the unexpected traffic. It became not just a meme or a joke, but a marketable phenomenon. The internet's obsession translated directly into sales. The costume, in its exaggerated satire, had become a product, a commodity, and a cultural event all at once. And yet, despite the humor, despite the absurdity, there was something unsettling about the frenzy. What does it say about society that millions of people can collectively find amusement, outrage, and entertainment in a single celebrity's parody? What does it mean that someone's life, their image, and even personal relationships can be distilled into a product that's bought, sold, and dissected by strangers worldwide? The internet had found its target, and the target was the embodiment of both fascination and criticism, a real person wrapped in a package labeled for consumption. But even as memes spread, sales surged, and debates raged, there was more to this story than met the eye. People started noticing details in the costume that seemed almost intentional. Subtle nods to past controversies, visual cues about public perceptions, and satirical references that only someone paying close attention would understand. Every element of the costume told a story, not just about Meghan Markle, but about the culture surrounding her. And in these tiny, meticulously designed details, the internet found endless material for discussion, jokes, and outrage. It wasn't just the costume itself that captivated the world. It was what it represented, the perfect storm of celebrity culture, internet satire, and public obsession. A single product, a single post, a single image, yet it encapsulated years of media coverage, public opinion, and personal drama. The Meghan Markle costume was more than a Halloween gag. It was a mirror held up to society, reflecting our fascination, our cruelty, and our collective obsession with fame and scandal. And just when you thought the viral wave couldn't grow any further, the costume started inspiring other products, spin-offs, and content. TikTok skits, Instagram reels, memes on Twitter, it was a chain reaction. Fans of satire created their own interpretations, exaggerating features, inventing absurd accessories, and even creating mini storylines involving the idiotic husband or kids sold separately. The creativity was endless, the humor razor-sharp, and the internet's attention insatiable. So here's the question: what happens when a single costume becomes the epicenter of global discourse? When humor, satire, and critique collide in a way that no one expected? The Meghan Markle costume isn't just a viral sensation. It's a cultural event, a social experiment, and a reflection of modern celebrity obsession, all wrapped in one audacious package. And yet, this is only the beginning. The costume sparked something far bigger than anyone anticipated. It wasn't just about Halloween. It wasn't just about memes. It wasn't even just about the internet having fun at a celebrity's expense. What came next would take the satire, the controversy, and the absurdity to an entirely new level, a level that would involve a book, a retail phenomenon, and a level of internet fury that nobody saw coming. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. It wasn't long after the costume went viral that the world discovered something even more audacious: a book. Yes, a full-blown, front-page book, and it wasn't gentle. From the moment the cover was revealed, people knew this wasn't a conventional biography. This wasn't a celebrity profile or a coffee table tribute. This book had one goal: to make a statement. and it did so with ruthless precision. The front page didn't just feature Meghan Markle, it labeled her, and the labels were brutal. Imagine walking into a bookstore and seeing her face staring back at you. The title alone was enough to make a reader pause. Meghan Markle comes with idiotic husband, victim mentality, bronzer, constant lies, choice of noses, ode to copycat spray, shit podcast, and kids sold separately. It's a mouthful, sure, but that's the point. Each phrase is carefully chosen, each insult calibrated to provoke a reaction, to evoke laughter, disbelief, and even a sense of moral outrage. Could you imagine the audacity it took to publish something like this? Could you imagine being the subject and seeing yourself described this way in a bookstore for the world to judge? The internet immediately exploded. Social media users shared photos of the book cover alongside commentary, ranging from shock to applause. Some called it genius satire, others cruel character assassination. Bloggers wrote think pieces dissecting the intent behind every word. Influencers unboxed it on camera, reading the phrases aloud in mock serious tones, laughing at the absurdity while gasping at the audacity. People debated, was this an art form or a public takedown? The answer, as always, depended on whom you asked. Let's take a closer look at the labels themselves. Idiotic husband. This was a reference that needed no explanation for those familiar with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's public narrative. It lampooned Harry as the bumbling, easily manipulated figure accompanying a woman who supposedly orchestrates every part of their lives. Humor, social commentary, and cultural critique were all embedded in this phrase. Some fans laughed, pointing out that every celebrity duo is subject to scrutiny. Others bristled, arguing that it was a cruel jab at a man who is, after all, a human being with real feelings. Next, victim mentality. The phrase that had fueled debates for years. Meghan Markle's interviews, media appearances, and statements had often positioned her as a person navigating the pressures of royalty, fame, and public scrutiny. Some admired her resilience, while others criticized what they saw as a persistent sense of grievance. By including this phrase on the book cover, the publishers weren't just commenting on her public persona, they were turning perception into product. The audience didn't just read this, they engaged with it, laughed at it, argued over it, and, in many cases, felt personally involved in the debate. Bronzer. It's almost comical in its simplicity, yet it carried weight. Everyone has noticed it, every appearance, every photograph, every public outing. And the book's creators leaned into it, exaggerating and lampooning it in a way that both amused and irritated audiences. The humor was sharp, the commentary unflinching. Social media was flooded with side-by-side comparisons, meme templates, and jokes about the perfect golden glow. It wasn't just about makeup. It was about image, identity, and the public's obsession with how Meghan Markle presents herself to the world. Then came constant lies. Now this is a phrase that hits hard, no matter which side of the debate you're on. Critics immediately argued that it encapsulated the controversies, contradictions, and rumors that have surrounded her career. Supporters countered, insisting it was unfair and one-sided. But as with all things viral, controversy only fueled interest. People were compelled to read further, to discuss, to share their opinions. The book wasn't just a story, it was a conversation starter, a provocation, a lightning rod. Choice of noses followed. Here, the absurdity of satire truly shone. The idea that one could choose a nose in a product or parody seemed ridiculous, yet it perfectly captured the absurdity of celebrity scrutiny. The media and public have spent years dissecting Meghan Markle's facial features, and the book transformed that scrutiny into playful exaggeration. Social media immediately latched onto this. Users created memes, TikTok videos, and reaction posts, debating which nose suited the real Meghan, which belonged in satire, and which was just too far. And what about ode to copycat spray? The humor is subtle, yet the critique is sharp. The fragrance metaphorically suggested imitation, mimicry, and public perception. The book implied that Meghan's influence, media strategy, and personal brand had a certain scent that inspired copycats everywhere. Influencers ran with this, posting videos spraying perfume in dramatic fashion while reading lines from the book aloud. The internet didn't just consume this. It interacted, it recreated, it exaggerated, and it amplified. Shit podcast was another bold choice, poking at Meghan Markle's media ventures. Critics of her podcast work immediately shared screenshots of controversial episodes, clips of awkward interviews, and commentary mocking her media presence. Supporters defended her, arguing the critique was unwarranted. And yet, just like every other label, it kept the conversation alive, fueled engagement, and ensured the book's viral status. Humor, controversy, and commentary were all wrapped into one succinct, brutally honest, or at least brutally exaggerated phrase. Finally, kids sold separately, the phrase that likely caused the most divided reaction. Some saw it as dark, edgy humor, a satirical exaggeration of public curiosity about her children. Others found it cruel, a direct strike at her family and private life. Social media erupted. Parents, influencers, and journalists debated the appropriateness of the joke, while memes spread like wildfire. People couldn't look away. Some laughed, some gasped, some scrolled in horror. It was a perfect example of how satire can shock, amuse, and provoke simultaneously. The book wasn't just about labels. It was about context, presentation, and timing. The creators understood the mechanics of virality. Every word, every image, every exaggerated feature was chosen to provoke reactions, spark conversation, and amplify attention. Social media users dissected every page, every phrase, and every illustration. Reviewers posted analyses, TikTokers unboxed it in dramatic fashion, and influencers recreated the most absurd moments and skits. The internet didn't just engage, it co-created the phenomenon. Each comment and share a new layer of amplification. And the reactions were fascinating in their diversity. Some people praised the audacity, calling it the perfect distillation of the internet's obsession with Meghan Markle. Others were outraged, writing think pieces and op-eds criticizing the book as mean-spirited. Some laughed hysterically, posting reaction videos that were themselves going viral. The book didn't just exist, it thrived, fueled by the chaotic mix of outrage, amusement, and curiosity that defines internet culture. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. The book didn't exist in isolation. It tied directly into the costume phenomenon, the memes, and the viral content online. The book became both a reference and an extension of the Halloween costume. The absurdity of the costume was amplified by the satirical text of the book, and the book, in turn, drew more attention to the costume. The two worked in tandem, feeding each other, creating a cycle of virality that seemed unstoppable. And it wasn't just about online fame. Retailers noticed the book's popularity. It sold out in some regions within hours. Online marketplaces listed it at premium prices. People were willing to pay for a physical copy of satire, a tangible artifact of the internet frenzy. It became more than a book. It became a cultural touchstone, a physical manifestation of public opinion, humor, and outrage. But despite the humor, the absurdity, and the virality, there was an underlying tension. The labels, the jokes, the satire, they weren't just playful. They were pointed, critical, and, for some, deeply personal. Meghan Markle's life, public perception, and private choices were all being distilled into exaggerated phrases and sold for entertainment. Some would call it art. Some would call it cruelty. Some would simply call it viral. But one thing was undeniable. The book was a phenomenon, and it had changed the conversation about Meghan Markle forever. And just when you thought the book's audacity had reached its peak, something even more shocking happened. Hidden in the illustrations, subtle details emerged, visual cues referencing past controversies, nods to public scandals, and exaggerations that only someone paying close attention could spot. Each page wasn't just satire. It was commentary, critique, and provocation all at once. The internet, of course, noticed immediately. Memes were created from single illustrations, TikTok videos zoomed in on specific panels, and discussions exploded about the meaning behind these hidden details. And so, the book wasn't just a companion to the costume. It was a cultural event. It was satire, social commentary, and viral sensation rolled into one. The internet had found its target, and it wasn't letting go. Every reaction, every meme, every share was a reinforcement of the phenomenon. And yet, despite all the humor, all the memes, and all the commentary, one question remained. Who was behind the book? And what were they trying to accomplish beyond satire? The answer would shock the world, and the revelations tied to it were only just beginning. But what came next would push the story into a territory even more audacious. And no one saw it coming. That it all started innocently enough. One meme, one caption, and suddenly, the phrase idiotic husband had taken on a life of its own. If you thought the Meghan Markle Halloween costume and the brutally satirical book were the height of internet outrage, you were wrong. Because this wasn't just about satire. It was about meme culture, viral energy, and how a single idea could explode across every platform in a matter of hours. Have you ever wondered how the internet decides what's funny, what's cruel, and what will be repeated endlessly for the amusement of millions? It doesn't follow logic. It doesn't follow reason. It follows emotion, relatability, and the irresistible allure of exaggeration. The idiotic husband meme became the perfect storm of these factors. Social media users began posting side-by-side images of Prince Harry with captions ranging from, "When your wife tells you she's a victim and you just nod," to "Me, I just wanted to play polo." "Her, here's a podcast." The creativity was relentless, the humor sharp, and the satire biting. The memes weren't limited to Twitter. Instagram Reels portrayed exaggerated skits of Prince Harry fumbling through royal duties, always overshadowed by Meghan. TikTok users staged dramatic unboxing videos of the Halloween costume, complete with tiny figurines representing Harry, labeled idiotic husband, reacting in mock horror to each satirical feature. People couldn't get enough. It was absurd, hilarious, and slightly cruel. But that's what made it perfect for viral culture. But why did this particular jab resonate so strongly? It wasn't just humor, it was narrative. Over the years, Prince Harry had become, in the eyes of the public, a man caught in a whirlwind. A royal prince trying to navigate tradition, fame, and the scrutiny of millions, while often portrayed as being manipulated or overshadowed by Meghan Markle. The meme didn't invent this narrative, it amplified it. Social media users were simply taking what they already believed, exaggerating it, and packaging it into digestible, shareable humor. And the reactions were instantaneous. Fans loyal to the couple bristled. "This is unfair," wrote one user on Twitter. "Harry is human. He deserves respect," said another on Instagram. Yet critics celebrated it. "Finally, the internet says what we were all thinking," wrote a comment under a viral TikTok. The debate was heated, entertaining, and, most importantly, viral. Every share, every post, every comment added fuel to the fire. The genius, or the chaos, of the meme was its versatility. It could be applied to any situation, any public event, or any minor misstep. For instance, when Harry attended a royal engagement, memes immediately circulated portraying him as the confused husband, reading from a cue card while Meghan orchestrated every move. When he gave interviews, clips were edited with dramatic captions. "Idiotic husband" tries to explain while Meghan secretly micromanages everything. It didn't matter what Harry actually did. The meme existed independent of reality. The humor and virality depended entirely on perception and exaggeration. Influencers took it to another level. One Instagram account recreated scenes from the couple's public life using dolls and props, assigning roles according to the idiotic husband narrative. TikTok videos used audio clips of awkward royal moments, paired with captions like, "Meghan, let's discuss victimhood." "Harry, I just wanted to play golf." Within hours, these videos racked up millions of views, comments, and shares. People were creating their own versions, remixing the meme, and amplifying the narrative even further. But the meme didn't exist in isolation. It fed into other forms of satire. The Halloween costume, the book, and the meme formed a trifecta. Each reinforced the other, creating a feedback loop of virality. One meme referenced the book's exaggerated labels. Another depicted Harry figurines reacting to the costume. Social media users were co-creating a narrative in real time, blending satire, critique, and absurdity into a shared cultural moment. And then came the emotional spike. The part that made the phenomenon so compelling. People weren't just laughing, they were emotionally invested. They debated, they argued, they rooted for or against the characters. It was more than humor, it was social engagement, amplified by strong feelings. Fans of the couple were outraged. Critics were ecstatic. and everyone else was watching, laughing, and sharing. The idiotic husband meme had transcended simple comedy. It had become a cultural event. But it wasn't all lighthearted. Some posts were brutally critical. Memes labeled Harry as clueless, ineffectual, or easily manipulated, exaggerating traits to almost cartoonish levels. News outlets wrote think pieces exploring the meme's popularity, questioning what it revealed about public perceptions of masculinity, power dynamics, and celebrity culture. The satire was funny, but it also forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about how society perceives public figures. The creativity didn't stop there. People began layering the meme with other viral phenomena. Clips from past interviews, public speeches, or royal engagements were repurposed to fit the idiotic husband narrative. Photoshop, AI-generated imagery, and clever editing allowed users to insert Harry into absurd situations, teaching Meghan's figurines to walk a catwalk, trying to understand the plot of a podcast, or being completely bewildered by a gift list. Each new creation reinforced the narrative, and the internet couldn't get enough. And just when you thought the meme had reached saturation, another twist appeared. Influencers began linking the meme to larger cultural conversations: gender roles, celebrity obsession, social media judgment, and the public's fascination with the private lives of famous couples. Suddenly, what started as humor became discussion, commentary, and even subtle critique. People were analyzing why the meme was so effective, why it resonated, and what it revealed about our culture. But the most fascinating aspect was the interplay between humor and reality. The meme exaggerated, yes, but it also reflected truth, perception, and expectation. Harry's every move was scrutinized, and the idiotic husband meme took those perceptions to their extreme. It was absurd, yet relatable. It was cruel, yet entertaining. And it was impossible to ignore. So, the internet continued to produce content. More memes, more TikToks, more Instagram reels. Each iteration pushed the narrative further, exploring Harry's role as the companion, the sidekick, the hapless partner in a celebrity saga that captivated the world. People debated whether it was fair, whether it was cruel, and whether it was funny, but they couldn't stop watching. Every post, every joke, every exaggeration added to the cultural moment. And then came the reactions from unexpected corners. Celebrities, comedians, and commentators began weighing in. Late-night hosts referenced the meme. Viral news outlets covered it as a cultural phenomenon. Even political commentators drew parallels to public perception, celebrity influence, and media power. The meme wasn't just entertainment anymore. It had entered mainstream discourse. But just as the meme reached its peak, a new layer emerged. People began combining it with the costume and the book, creating videos, posts, and commentary that intertwined all three elements. Harry figurines reacting to the costume, memes referencing book labels, TikTok skits portraying absurd interactions between Meghan and Harry. This ecosystem of satire had no end. The idiotic husband label became the nexus point for an entire viral culture surrounding the couple. And yet, amidst the laughter and engagement, a question lingered. How much does this affect real people? How much of this satire crosses the line from humor into personal attack? Social media doesn't care. Virality doesn't care. But somewhere in the chaos, the lines blur between entertainment, critique, and cruelty. And the world watches, comments, shares, and waits for the next twist. But just when it seemed like the idiotic husband meme had peaked, the internet was about to discover a new twist, one that would push the satire into territory nobody expected, merging public opinion, media influence, and a level of absurdity that would leave millions questioning just how far this cultural phenomenon could go. But what came next would change the meme's narrative forever. And no one saw it coming. Have you ever seen an idea catch fire so quickly that it feels like the internet itself has a vendetta? That's exactly what happened when the phrase victim mentality from the Meghan Markle Halloween costume and book started circulating. It wasn't just a phrase, it was a spark. And once it hit social media, it ignited a wildfire of debates, memes, hot takes, and emotional reactions that spread across every corner of the internet. The phrase itself is deceptively simple: victim mentality. 2 words, and yet it carried years of narrative, public perception, and judgment. For many, Meghan Markle's life had become a series of headlines: interviews, and viral moments portraying her as a woman navigating pressures that were both real and amplified. Some interpreted her public statements as courageous honesty, while others saw them as perpetual victimhood, manipulating public sympathy. And when the phrase appeared in the Halloween costumes packaging and book description, it crystallized this perception, turning it into satire that everyone could understand, debate, and share. Immediately, social media erupted. On Twitter, hashtags began trending. Hashtag victim mentality, hashtag Meghan Markle, and hashtag Halloween Gone Wild. Users posted threads analyzing the phrase, dissecting every interview and statement Meghan had made over the years. One Twitter user wrote, "The internet finally got its chance to summarize 10 years of Meghan Markle in 2 words." Another said, "Funny? Maybe. Accurate? Depends on who you ask." The phrase became a lens through which millions examined her public life, and the reactions were endless. On TikTok, creators were relentless. Videos showed dramatic reenactments of Meghan's interviews, with exaggerated captions emphasizing her victim moments. Sound effects, slow-motion edits, and humorous commentary made the satire sharper, funnier, and more viral. One user created a skit in which Meghan dramatically recounted a minor inconvenience, while a small figurine labeled "Public Opinion" sighed in disbelief. The commentary was clear. The audience both empathized and mocked simultaneously, creating an emotional tension that made the videos irresistible to watch and share. Instagram was no different. Influencers posted unboxing videos of the costume, reading the label "victim mentality" aloud with mock shock. Followers flooded the comments, debating whether the satire was cruel, hilarious, or somewhere in between. Some applauded the humor and creative critique, while others condemned it as personal attack. Every post became a battleground, a microcosm of the broader debate about perception, reality, and public judgment. But here's what made it so explosive: it wasn't just a joke. The phrase tapped into a larger cultural conversation about victimhood, fame, and media narratives. Meghan Markle had, intentionally or not, positioned herself as someone navigating extraordinary pressures of royalty, of celebrity, of constant public scrutiny. The internet, with its fascination for both critique and comedy, seized upon this positioning and distilled it into a catchy, repeatable meme: victim mentality. It was sharp, it was memorable, and it perfectly fit the narrative that the Halloween costume and book were creating. And the reactions weren't limited to the general public. Bloggers, online media outlets, and talk shows quickly latched on. Headlines screamed, "The internet piles on. Meghan Markle labeled with victim mentality in viral Halloween costume," or "Is this costume the ultimate social commentary on celebrity culture?" Analysts dissected the phenomenon, asking why this phrase, more than any other, had captured the imagination of millions. Social media scholars weighed in, explaining that the simplicity of the phrase, combined with the context of public fascination, made it the perfect meme. Meanwhile, memes proliferated like wildfire. One popular image showed a 2-panel comparison. In the first, Meghan is calmly explaining her struggles in a public interview. In the second, the same image is edited with the words "victim mentality" and a cartoon explosion of emojis, emphasizing perceived overreaction. Another meme placed her figurine from the costume next to an exaggerated tiny Prince Harry, captioned, "Victim mentality activated." The humor was biting, the satire unmistakable, and the virality unstoppable. The emotional tension online was palpable. Some defended Meghan passionately, insisting that the satire was cruel and unfair. "You can't reduce someone's life to a stereotype," wrote one Instagram user. Others, however, argued that the label was spot-on satire, a commentary on how the public perceives celebrity narratives. "It's not about cruelty," tweeted another. "It's about acknowledging the story everyone thinks they know." And just like that, the debate became part of the spectacle, each side fueling further engagement and reaction. But the most compelling aspect of the victim mentality discussion was how it intersected with broader social commentary. Cultural critics began drawing connections between the meme and discussions of privilege, gender dynamics, and media influence. Was Meghan's perceived victimhood a reflection of real struggles, or was it amplified by the media and internet culture? Did the phrase "victim mentality" reveal more about public perceptions than about her actual behavior? TikTokers and influencers jumped into the debate, blending humor, satire, and commentary in ways that made the topic both entertaining and thought-provoking. And then there were the dramatic spikes. Whenever Meghan gave an interview, attended an event, or posted on social media, the phrase victim mentality resurfaced. Clips were edited, memes were made, and conversations reignited. It wasn't just a one-off joke, it was a recurring narrative. The internet had created a lens through which every action could be interpreted, exaggerated, and shared. Each new appearance, each new story, was filtered through the victim mentality meme, ensuring that the phenomenon remained alive and relevant. This wasn't without consequences. Some journalists and commentators questioned the ethics of reducing a person's life and experiences into a viral catchphrase. Discussions about the impact on mental health, public perception, and the responsibility of social media platforms emerged. Yet, even as debate raged over fairness, the viral energy didn't diminish. People couldn't look away. They laughed, argued, and shared, amplifying the meme and keeping the cultural conversation alive. The book and costume, which had introduced the phrase, became central reference points. Influencers referenced the labels directly, creating content that highlighted the absurdity while simultaneously dissecting the deeper meaning. One TikTok video featured a slow-motion unboxing of the costume, zooming in on the label victim mentality, while a voiceover read aloud examples of Meghan's interviews, exaggerating facial expressions and tone. The effect was hilarious, shocking, and addictive. And just when you thought the phenomenon had peaked, the phrase began to evolve. New memes, layered with additional satire, emerged. Victim mentality wasn't just a joke. It became shorthand for the cultural narrative surrounding Meghan Markle, a symbol for public fascination, outrage, and humor. It was endlessly remixable, endlessly shareable, and endlessly engaging. But as the memes spread, so did speculation. People began asking, who was behind the costume and book? Was it marketing genius, cultural critique, or just pure internet chaos? How much of this was intentional, and how much was the organic creativity of millions of users? The questions only added to the allure, keeping people engaged, debating, and returning for more content. And yet, amidst the humor and engagement, the internet's fascination was revealing something darker. The public's obsession with celebrity narratives, the pleasure derived from satire, and the fine line between critique and cruelty. The phrase victim mentality wasn't just a meme. It was a reflection of the complex, often contradictory feelings society holds about fame, power, and personal narrative. But just when the conversation seemed settled, the internet discovered an even sharper twist. A viral video paired the victim mentality meme with the idiotic husband figurine from the costume, creating a layered satire that merged both viral phenomena into a single, absurd, and unignorable cultural event. The reactions multiplied. Comments, shares, remixes, and new memes exploded across platforms. The cultural impact was undeniable, and it was far from over. But what came next would push the satire into territory even more shocking, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever seen something so exaggerated that it makes you pause, laugh, and cringe all at once? That's exactly what happened when the Meghan Markle Halloween costume drew attention to one of the most ridiculous, yet somehow telling details: the bronzer. Not just any makeup, mind you. This was bronzer turned into a viral symbol, an emblem of public scrutiny, and a perfect tool for satire. Within hours of the costume hitting social media, every post, meme, and comment seemed to hone in on that golden glow. It started simply. Someone noticed the packaging image. Meghan's face, highlighted to the point of absurdity, glowing as if she had spent weeks in a tanning booth without ever stepping outside. Social media erupted. "Is this bronzer or nuclear fallout?" tweeted one user. "Meghan shines brighter than my future," wrote another. The humor was instant, the exaggeration vivid, and the reaction, predictably, unstoppable. But why did bronzer, of all things, become such a focal point? For years, Meghan Markle's appearance has been under intense public scrutiny. Every event, every red carpet, every casual photograph has been analyzed, criticized, and dissected. Her style, her skin tone, her makeup choices, everything is part of the public conversation. The costume, with its over-the-top bronzer, didn't just parody her appearance. It commented on the obsession society has with celebrity aesthetics. People didn't just laugh, they recognized a truth in the satire. TikTok videos exploded with reenactments. One viral clip showed someone applying layer after layer of bronzer to a mannequin, captioned, "Behold, the official glow of Meghan Markle." Others staged comedy skits, with friends pointing exaggeratedly at each other's faces, asking, "Is this too much bronzer? Or just enough?" The humor was self-aware and pointed, drawing attention not only to Meghan herself, but also to the absurdity of judging someone's makeup choices under the relentless microscope of fame. Instagram influencers weren't far behind. Makeup tutorials went viral for the wrong reasons: humor over artistry. Today we're recreating Meghan Markle's bronzer glow. One influencer announced in mock seriousness, layering product until the glow could be seen across the city skyline in their video. Comments flooded in. Some laughed hysterically. Others criticized the attack on her appearance. And yet, engagement skyrocketed. Every post, every reaction, every viral clip reinforced the cultural conversation surrounding this single element of the costume. But it wasn't just the humor. There was a sense of irony, too. For all the satire, the exaggeration of bronzer also highlighted the unrealistic standards imposed on celebrities, particularly women. Meghan, like countless other public figures, is judged for how she looks in every photograph, under every light, at every angle. The costume's glow didn't just mock her, it mocked the obsession itself. Social media users recognized this dual layer: laughter at exaggeration, reflection on societal pressure. And that's what made it so shareable, so viral, and so emotionally charged. Memes proliferated almost immediately. One featured a side-by-side comparison: Meghan's actual appearance versus the costume's exaggerated bronzer glow, captioned, "Expectation versus reality, Royal Edition." Another superimposed a glowing Meghan face onto images of the sun, lightning bolts, and even the Golden Gate Bridge, with the tagline, "Bronzer strong enough to light up San Francisco." The exaggeration was absurd, the humor razor-sharp, and the social media response relentless. And just when the internet thought it had exhausted the possibilities, creativity skyrocketed. Influencers began creating bronzer challenges, asking followers to apply layers of golden makeup until they matched the costume's ridiculous glow. TikTokers incorporated dramatic sound effects, slow-motion application shots, and playful commentary. If your bronzer isn't brighter than a lighthouse, are you even trying? Within hours, the hashtag Meghan Bronzer Challenge began trending, demonstrating not just humor, but a collective participation in the satire. Meanwhile, commentators and bloggers began analyzing the phenomenon. Articles emerged discussing how celebrity appearances, particularly women, are scrutinized and exaggerated in media culture. Some praised the humor, noting how the costume brilliantly captured public perception of Meghan Markle. Others criticized it as cruel, an attack on someone already navigating immense scrutiny. But all agreed, the bronzer had become the defining feature, the visual shorthand for the broader cultural obsession with celebrity image. And yet, the fascination wasn't limited to social media. Retailers noticed it, too. People were buying the costume not just for Halloween, but as a collectible item, a tangible piece of internet culture. The exaggerated bronzer was highlighted in product descriptions, with phrases like "glow so bright, it blinds cameras," and "official Meghan Markle radiance" included. People didn't just laugh, they paid for it, wore it, and shared it online, further amplifying the cultural moment. The humor also spilled into other forms of media. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and late-night shows referenced the costume, making jokes about the bronzer, its intensity, and its symbolic meaning. Comedians created sketches imagining Meghan Markle walking into a room, glowing so brightly that people needed sunglasses. News outlets reported on the viral craze, highlighting how a single cosmetic detail could dominate online discourse, spark creative content, and provoke debate about fairness, satire, and public perception. But here's what made the bronzer satire particularly sharp. It encapsulated both public fascination and critique. On one hand, people laughed at the absurdity. On the other, they reflected on how society obsesses over celebrities, often focusing on trivial details while ignoring broader accomplishments or complexities. The costume turned this scrutiny into an object of humor, enabling millions to simultaneously critique and participate in the spectacle. And the engagement didn't stop there. Users combined the bronzer exaggeration with other elements from the costume and book. Videos emerged showing figurines with idiotic husband labels trying to understand the glowing Meghan, while memes paired victim mentality captions with dramatic golden highlights. Social media was a whirlwind of interaction, remixing, and creativity, each layer reinforcing the absurdity and the cultural commentary embedded in the costume. Even fashion commentators and beauty bloggers joined the conversation. Some praised the humor and wit, noting that it highlighted the unrealistic pressures on public figures. Others critiqued it, arguing that mocking appearance crossed a line, especially given Meghan's high-profile experiences with media scrutiny. The debates themselves became part of the spectacle, keeping the viral energy alive and ensuring that every detail of the bronzer became a topic of discussion, analysis, and parody. But as social media frenzy intensified, so did the stakes. The bronzer, the exaggeration, the memes, they weren't just harmless fun anymore. They were shaping public perception, influencing conversations, and amplifying a narrative that could have real-world implications. Fans and critics alike debated how much humor is acceptable when it targets someone so closely monitored by the public eye. And the internet's reaction was unrelenting, unfiltered, and often contradictory. Laughter, outrage, critique, admiration, and obsession all intertwined in a single cultural moment. Yet, just when the narrative seemed complete, a new twist emerged. People began combining the bronzer meme with other elements from the costume and book, creating layers of satire that were increasingly elaborate. TikTok videos showed Meghan figurines glowing with golden bronzer while reading the victim mentality label aloud, next to a tiny figurine of her idiotic husband, reacting in exaggerated horror. Memes paired bronzer with podcast references and satirical commentary on media influence. The creativity was endless, the humor sharp, and the virality unstoppable. And that's when it became clear, the bronzer wasn't just a cosmetic joke. It was a symbol, a mirror reflecting society's obsession with celebrity, image, and media narratives. It was a catalyst for engagement, humor, and debate. And it set the stage for the next wave of internet fury, a wave that would target yet another element of the costume and book, escalating the satire to a level that no one could ignore. But what came next would make the bronzer look tame, and no one was ready for it. Constant lies. 2 words. Simple, direct, and yet incredibly potent. When those words appeared on the Meghan Markle Halloween costume and front-page book, they instantly sparked debates, outrage, and curiosity. But what did they really mean? Were they a harsh jab at public perception, a clever exaggeration, or a reflection of genuine controversy? The answer, as always, was layered, complex, and explosive. From the moment the label went public, social media was ablaze. Tweets questioned, debated, and analyzed the phrase endlessly. Which lies are constant? One user asked. Is this satire, or is someone finally telling it like it is? Wrote another. Memes emerged almost immediately, depicting Meghan narrating events while the world's reactions ranged from disbelief to mockery. The humor was biting, the absurdity undeniable, and the viral energy unstoppable. But to understand the potency of constant lies, you have to trace it back to public perception. Over the years, Meghan Markle has lived under an almost unprecedented level of media scrutiny. Every interview, every public statement, every minor personal revelation is analyzed, dissected, and amplified. And while some of the claims against her are exaggerated, others are rooted in documented inconsistencies, conflicting narratives, or moments that critics argue contradict her public persona. The phrase constant lies distilled this complex mix into something immediate, memorable, and, above all, viral. TikTok users seized on the concept instantly. One video featured clips of Meghan at various public events, with exaggerated captions highlighting statements that critics deemed contradictory. Another showed a game, where viewers had to guess which quotes were true and which were exaggerated, all while a comical voiceover referred to her constant lies. The humor, while sharp, carried an undercurrent of tension, sparking conversation about where satire ends and judgment begins. Instagram and Twitter weren't far behind. Influencers created reels unboxing the costume, pausing dramatically on the constant lies label while reading aloud snippets of Meghan's public interviews. Comments flooded in. Some users laughed at the absurdity, others defended her fiercely, insisting the critique was unfair. Yet even those defending her couldn't deny the viral impact. Every interaction, every share, every comment amplified the narrative. The phrase had become a cultural shorthand, a symbol of scrutiny, satire, and fascination all at once. The phrase also opened the door to historical context. Over the years, Meghan Markle has been involved in controversies that fueled public debates. Interviews where statements seemed contradictory, media coverage that questioned her intentions, and moments where public perception diverged sharply from personal accounts. Each instance became fodder for memes, commentary, and satire, providing endless material for social media users to explore. The constant lies label distilled these complexities into a single, powerful phrase that could be easily shared, debated, and exaggerated. And yet, the internet wasn't content with surface-level humor. Users began creating elaborate memes juxtaposing alleged lies with visual exaggerations. One viral post depicted Meghan narrating an event while an animated background exploded in chaos, highlighting the perceived contradiction in her story. Another TikTok showed a montage of her public appearances, each clip paired with dramatic captions emphasizing exaggeration, perception, and irony. The creativity was relentless, the engagement overwhelming, and the humor both sharp and dark. The book and costume reinforced this narrative. By labeling her with constant lies, the creators weren't just mocking her, they were framing a public perception, making it tangible and consumable. The audience didn't just observe, they participated, debating which statements were exaggeration, which were true, and which were part of a larger cultural narrative. Social media became a live laboratory for dissecting the concept of truth, perception, and celebrity influence. But what made this phrase truly viral was its versatility. It could be applied to interviews, social media posts, podcasts, or public appearances. One popular meme depicted Meghan speaking confidently while captions highlighted alleged exaggerations, mistakes, or contradictions.